What's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey man. Hey man. Can't complain. Can't complain. Yeah, you can't complain.
So I'm thrilled on this beautiful Sunday.
Ooh.
Did you guys see Megan Thee Stallion's gonna be in a movie for A24? It's a musical. It's called Effing Identical Twins. And it's gonna have Nathan Lane and Megan Mullally and Bowen Yang as well in it.
I'm very cautiously optimistic about this because I'm not gonna lie to you. On paper, this does not sound like something that I envision will be great. Just because musical comedy already gives me pause, and then Meg Thee Stallion starring in musical comedy starts to give me a little bit more pause. And then it's by the same people who did it's directed by the guy who did hold on.
The Greatest Showman?
It's not The Greatest Showman. No, if you scroll, he did like Borat or something. It's like,
oh,
I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn though. I feel like I read it somewhere on this page, but yeah, Borat, Helmer, Larry, Charles. So I'm like interested to see what this will actually play out to be.
Yeah, it's apparently a musical spin on The Parent Trap. It's got some good DNA though. Like Nathan Lane is great. He's good at musical comedies, like the producers. Megan Mullally's funny. Bowen Yang's hilarious on SNL right now. Like,
the thing is that so when this comes out, I think people are gonna judge it harshly because it's A24. And anything with A24, people expect
very
to be
quality.
groundbreaking. Yeah, very quality,
stuff.
Groundbreaking, something like, oh my gosh, I've never seen, film like this before in my life. Essentially,
Not all usually is very quality as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what I'm saying? So, I'm interested. It's good to see Megan actually get into acting business. That's the thing with artists, like a lot of these rappers and singers, a lot of them can't actually act. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So,
yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
I feel like that's such a narrative that I always hear, and I'm like, there's not that many that I can't think of that many like musicians that I think are horrible actors. People love to say Beyonce. I disagree, and I'm fighting that narrative with every fiber of my body.
Honestly, Beyonce's better than Rihanna. Rihanna's not a great actress.
Rihanna's not that good.
But the thing is, it's not bad enough. Like, get them off the screen. Like,
no, they're just like.
It's like
they're just never going to be the strongest part of the movie.
Exactly.
Well, if they can get Meg rapping on here, that'd be kind of fun.
That'd be cool.
No, like, I don't want Meg rapping in this musical. Well, she's probably gonna rap in this musical, but I'm just sort of like, we'll see how this plays out. Bowen Yang's funny. I'm excited. Borat was funny. Let's see it. But A24 directing producing a musical comedy. Again, it gives you a little bit of pause, but
they're just a production house. They have a lot of talent under them. They can.
Have they done a musical comedy before?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, so I think still enough to give pause and shock a little. But, we'll see what to expect from.
We'll see.
Okay, well, on that note, welcome to the 97 Demo Podcast, where we give you the latest music news and a whole bunch along the way. I'm Nnamdi Igwanwu, joined by my two co-hosts,
Noah McGee
and Avery Delal.
So if you listen to the pod, we've done it before. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it again. We're probably going to do it in the future. A Kanye episode. Kanye West may crack our list for most talked about topics, honestly, since the inception of this podcast, but it's often for good reason. We often don't try to talk about Kanye. Kanye just sort of dominates the music industry discourse, and we find ourselves in situations where it's like, okay, let's comment on it. But this week is especially made special the fact that we will also be reacting to the first part of Jeen-yuhs, which is the new Netflix documentary series produced by Kudi and Chike. We saw that. I know we have a lot to say about it, and I think it's sort of like is one of those things that reminds you about why you liked Kanye in the first place, as we're talking about all the shenanigans he's gotten into over the past couple of weeks. So, I think it allows for balance in that we're talking about it all.
It's a very conflicting time to be a sensical Kanye fan.
Yeah, that's what it is, to be a sensical Kanye fan.
I agree, because it's like, is it doc out? So it's like, oh man, this is why I love him. And then the stem player thing, you'd be like, oh geez, are you kidding me? And then
it's like there's too much this week to not talk about. It's like, okay, we want to do the documentary, we want to talk about the album, we want to talk about the Instagram. There's like there's a ton.
But I think it's one of those things where we have to preclude the conversation with not a disclaimer, but just a reminder that like there is a way to acknowledge Kanye West for his contributions to music and sort of the music genius he really is, right? And that this documentary highlights he's sort of always been, while also still critiquing him for everything else. Like, so and like appreciating one of those, we're not like absolving or justifying or rationalizing all of the other stuff he does.
It's just like what we did last week with Dr. Dre's album. Remember, we did the exact same thing. There's some good things.
I also think Kanye's so unique because, you know, his personal life is so intertwined with his music that you can't separate the two. Like, you have to talk about one and talk about the other. So like, you know, you do have to talk about, like, he's brilliant, but also, you know, he's a pest.
Ooh, pest. Ooh. That's we'll get into that later in the show. Pest, ouch. But speaking of the streaming player or STEM player, if you haven't heard, Kanye West announced that Donda 2 is only going to be available on the STEM player he released alongside the first Donda, and this is like a little like how you describe it, like a little tablet almost, but it's not a tablet.
It's a little egg-shaped thing.
It's like a little device.
Little device that you can, like, I guess, change the play, like customize the production around any of the songs. It is cool, but he lost us when he said that it will be the only way you can hear Donda 2 if you purchase one of these $200 items. That being said, as silly and nonsensical as you may say that is, and I still am shocked that a label is letting this happen. I would love to see how that plays out. But apparently it's worked from a financial perspective because he's raked in $2 million of sales for that STEM player, according to Kanye, since making that announcement. So again, crazy or genius, you tell me.
Oh man, it's a lot, because like I that was my first reaction. Like, how does a label let this happen? Like, even Kanye, like, how do you let people get away with this? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you let Kanye get away with this? Because like, I'm just not gonna buy it. Like, I just feel like it's gonna take away your average music listener. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get the sales are crazy. $200? Like, yeah, that's ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
He did bring up, like, if these Instagram posts would load, but he said at some point, like, this is more money than he would have ever made on a streaming platform if they played it. If anyone played it like 100 million times. I don't care about how much money Kanye's making. It's just very good financially, I guess, for him.
Well, and I do think, to Kanye's sort of point, actions like this, even though you may say Kanye West is still a millionaire, it doesn't matter, whatever, I do think it does highlight the fact, or at least started encourage more discourse about the fact that these streaming services do sort of take advantage of the artists and not pay them. You know,
it's funny.
I think this is akin to when Taylor Swift and Adele and Beyonce and them used to say, we're not going to put our projects on streamers because they didn't say it at the time, but I think the idea was sort of like, we don't need to, like, there's not enough money here.
Right.
So there is kind of a benefit in that.
That's true. I just find it funny how it's Kanye who's like a label exec, and he's part of like the beast that takes advantage of artists too. You know what I'm saying? And
he's been accused publicly of taking advantage of artists and not paying artists.
And he's also like not making his album accessible either. Like, $1 is not accessible. So
it's like, okay. Like,
but do we actually think Donda's coming out on time still?
Donda 2?
I don't know. I honestly do not know.
Well, I think it's gonna come out, but not on time.
I think we should introduce our theory. Though that, of course, I meant on time. I think our theories. My theory about it was, I do think Donda 2 is going to be a lot of Donda original B-sides or things that just didn't make the cut. So I feel like the songs are probably there and done. I just don't trust that Kanye West will stick to a plan. I think sometimes just for the sake of being a rebel, he rebels. So it's like...
What if it's like the City of God song with 504 and it's like all of the Donda songs with like different little things in it? You know what I'm saying? Like, City of God was basically off the grid with like...
You know, we say that, and I'm like, it really could just be that Off the Grid uses a generic drill.
True. That's fair too. You know, it's fair.
He mentions like Off the Grid in the song. Like,
there's a couple
he's
songs
acknowledging its existence.
You know, but I agree with you, Nnamdi. I feel like it's gonna be kind of like a B-sides thing, like a Untitled Kendrick thing, like B-sides off of you know, what's that album?
Untitled
Butterfly. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could still be good too. It could still be good. He could still have some songs that are like in the cut that are good. You know, Nnamdi, I remember you enjoyed Donda a lot. I enjoyed Donda.
Oh yeah, I was a big Donda fan, but I've said it on the pod that I'm very skeptical that Donda 2 is coming out so quickly, because I kind of think Donda is so great because you could tell Kanye spent a lot of time and effort into it. And if Donda 2 just going to be all the songs that didn't make the cut, it's like, it's fine, but like I'm hoping the quality and effort will be there. This just won't feel like a rush.
It's like the opposite of the first Donda, because Donda he like spent too much time on.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna pull up the track list that he put on here, but it is gone now. Which
he deletes everything. You gotta.
I know. We could talk about that later. His Instagram a little later, but it is not there anymore.
But okay, I guess before we fall into Kanye too deeply, let's at least still touch on some of our favorite new releases this week. We got a couple of albums that I feel mainly a lot of singles, like Jack Harlow with Nail Tech, Kid Cudi and Nigo put out a collab with Want It Bad. Our friend of the pod, Quentin Brock, put out There For You. What did you guys listen to this week?
Mine was, or I guess my standout was Texas Moon, but I still do not know how to pronounce it. Krangabin and Leon Bridges. This is like the sister EP, I guess, to Texas Sun that they put out a little while ago. But yeah, it's just really, really, really good. And I always welcome more Leon Bridges in my life. So
Dope. My album is, I don't even know how to say this thing. I'm just gonna call it King of the Wig Flip, because I don't even know what that first part means. WLIBAM. I don't even know what that means. King of the Wig Flip. Madlib put out an album. So that's cool. He has a couple artists on there. Let me put some standouts on here. There probably isn't any. Talib Kweli, that's a standout.
Nice.
Standout. He's relevant to the Kanye documentary for sure. Stacey Epps, she's on Mad Villainy. So, some frequent collaborators like Murs, he's a frequent collaborator of Madlib. So yeah, this is a really good project. I always like the Madlib kind of like instrumental EPs, but this one is good. I mean, instrumental albums, but this one is good because he actually has some artists on here, so that's pretty good. So yeah, it's kind of like an Alchemist type thing, you know what I'm saying? A couple instrumentals, a couple artists rapping, singing, whatnot. So yeah, King of the Wig Flip. Just look that up and you'll find it.
Wait, when did it come out though?
It came out this week.
Okay. Mine, I chose Love Train by Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak, Silk Sonic. Primarily because I just thought it was a good song to hit. Apparently it's a cover of the song Love Train by I always forget. Unfunction, yes. And it just sounds good. It made me really reflect and kind of get upset at the fact that the Silk Sonic actual music moment ended up being so temporal. Like, it came and went so quick, primarily because the whole thing was like 18 minutes. But like, I think this single made me remember that I did enjoy that sound, and they're just so talented together, and I'm sure they'll perform it at their next, at their upcoming residency. Do you guys think they're gonna end up just like becoming a cover band? Because they could do it, and I'd be enthralled. I'd listen.
That would be great. I would honestly be down for it.
That would be cool. I think they're gonna do it. I just want to clarify with the Madlib album. Nnamdi, you're right. It came out in 2008. It's on streaming now. It came out on streaming this week. I know that's why. I was gonna
let you rock. I was gonna say.
No. We want to give the people the correct thing. But I thought it was something new because I've never heard it. But it's new on streaming, so I'm gonna kind of count it. But if that's
that counts.
I'm cheating. I'm sorry. I'm cheating. But
Magic by Vince Staples is on here, and I'm thinking, we talked about that last week, didn't we? Or did that come out like
I forgot. I kind of
it's on our playlist for sure.
I'm not sure.
97 demo.
It came out midweek. That's why it was weird. It came out midweek.
Oh, that's what
But also, I want to point out, since we're waiting on this Kid Cudi Nigo track, what y'all think about that? Did y'all listen to that?
I did. I was such a fan. Want It Bad. Well, I wasn't. It sounded like it could have been on Kid Cudi's Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying, which came out a couple years ago, but is one of my favorite projects of his. So I was cool with it.
Yeah.
I rocked.
That was good. That was a solid project.
I think I need to give it another chance. I listened to it once and kind of just came and went for me.
Yeah. It's not like a hugely.
Yeah, like I listened to it and I was like, I forgot what I just listened to.
Single, but it's fun.
Maybe I need to listen again.
It really feels like, Kid Cudi's like I don't want to say basic, but like this. Oh, this sounds like something normally he would do.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the ASAP track a little better. Not to compare.
We're gonna have to talk about Kid Cudi a lot, and then there's just so much to get into with Kanye. Well, before we though, what did y'all think about Nail Tech by Jack Harlow, the song which got praise from?
Oh, he's involved in this too. He's involved in this.
Kanye posted it. Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, he's involved in this.
This is crazy.
He said top 5. He said top 5.
And he said, I said, never mind. But Kanye's funny. Anyway, I guess you guys, let's get into the episode aptly named For the Love of Kanye, dubbed by our very own Avery Dalal. Y'all been kind of killing it with these titles lately. Let me give y'all flowers while y'all can hear it. But I feel like we kind of have to start the documentary. At least that's where I want to start. How do we want to do this?
I feel like we should start with the documentary.
I like the documentary.
Because I think the documentary, here's my thing. Here's the reason why I was such a big fan of Genius. It affirmed like 2 things for me. One, there's a reason we still put up with Kanye West despite all of the just other extra BS he sort of gives us. And it's not just because the music's so good. I've realized, I think we all acknowledge and see that Kanye West may be the most raw, authentic musician out. To Avery's earlier point about how his music life and his personal life often intertwine so much, he's just, you get what you get with Kanye. And I think this documentary, what was so cool is seeing that all the stuff we talk about, the way we frame him now as being sort of unpredictable and like crazy and doing his own thing and not really caring. He was like that all the way back in the early 2000s, the early aughts, when he didn't have like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and his trilogy of albums to really justify the cockiness yet. He's just naturally that way. Hearing his mom say, yeah, he's kind of self-absorbed, but like we love him. There was just something so refreshing about seeing the fact that if you give Kanye one thing, he's been consistent with that authenticity from the beginning, and I think this was a good reminder of that.
I mean, he said it himself. Remember, he was like, some people think I'm a narcissist. You're already doing a documentary. You ain't done none yet. Like, I agree. But that's one thing that was interesting. I don't know if Kanye said or his mom said, he's like, he's into himself, but he's also humble. And I was like, you know what? I do get that in some sense. It's hard. It's easier to see it looking back now. Like, it's hard to see the humbleness of Kanye now. Like, it's hard to imagine that. But back then, you definitely see he's really, he was cocky because you believed in himself and he's easy to root for. Obviously, back then, you're like, oh man, I can't believe they don't believe in All Falls Down. Like, that's a classic now to us. But it's hard to believe that people didn't believe in him now. And we're like, oh man, look at this guy. He's such an underdog. But then comparing it to now, it's like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So it's interesting to look back. He was easy to root for. He was easy superhero to root for in this this first part at least.
Yeah, I was also super impressed by the director Kudi, just attaching himself to him and being this kid's gonna be a star. I know it, and he followed him across the country and was like,
he left his job to do it, right?
Yeah, he left his popular TV show
Channel Zero
to go
the 97 demo of the early 2000s. Some may say.
What's interesting though? I'm glad this is yes, this is Kanye's the main character, but it is also kind of a Kudi thing too. It's kind of he's a character in this. He's not just a guy behind the camera type thing. You know what I'm saying? He is, but
how do you guys feel about Kudi making himself a character in this though?
I think it's interesting.
That's not the point, but I did definitely notice the scenes where he was like, but before we talk about Kanye, here's how my family got involved. It's
I like it. I think it provides some good context, why this happened, why we're watching what we're watching. And also if I banked my success on someone else's success, I would want to be yeah, I'm here too.
Honestly, I like it because then it could have been Kanye produced. It could have been Kanye produced, him just talking, him doing the whole narrative, and I'd rather not have that. Remember Kanye tried to do that. He's like, this is me, this is my documentary.
I don't know how you guys know so confidently that Kanye did not get.
They said he didn't. They said he didn't.
Said he didn't.
Who's that?
When I was trying to find links for this episode,
Kudi and Chike were no, essentially, but we really don't know for sure, but I'm taking them for their word. But the thing is, if that's true, I'm gonna assume it's true. I'm gonna assume they're not obviously we don't know, but I'd rather have this Kudi's point of view than Kanye's, because then when we have that nowadays, it's every documentary, every artist wants to produce their own documentary, and that takes away a little of the I don't know what I'm trying to say, not honesty, but like transparency with it. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I think it's interesting, but I actually like that part of it, and I like how like it's not like a interview of like him now, or I mean, obviously he's talking over, but it's just like old footage the whole time, and like straight through old footage. It's not any really new footage except really at the beginning, you know, when it shows Kanye at that Dominican Republic.
They denied it. They denied Kanye tampering with the film because they said it would be bad for the filmmaking.
And I agree.
They did that because they're so right.
I agree.
But y'all, there's two scenes I want to talk about that for me really kind of put the point I was making about Kanye being raw and all that in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
The first is, well, I'm just saying both. The first was the scene where the now viral scene where Kanye plays, like, goes to Def Jam's offices, or was it Roc Nation's office?
Roc-A-Fella.
And starts Roc-A-Fella's offices and starts playing his album out loud with people. And like everyone on Twitter is like, oh my gosh, it's insane that they didn't know Jesus Walks is gonna be the one. And I remember I watched that and I was like, imagine if you're at work and some dude who, he may be playing his mixtape door to door loud. You hear it every time he plays it. And he's playing the song.
It's gonna work.
It was funny to me that people sort of try to frame it as like it's insane they weren't more receptive, and I'm like, they just got out of a 12 p.m. meeting and now Kanye's in their office playing this loud ass album and they can't do nothing. But that scene sort of highlighted that Kanye's always been this way, where like he feels his talent and skill justifies his ability to sort of disrupt the public, disrupt the peace, be crazy, be controversial, take up room, occupy space. He can do it because he's Kanye West and he knows he's talented. But the other scene, and your point to him being humble at this time, was when when his mentor Doug Infinite dissed him.
Yeah.
And you saw, it was crazy to me because you saw Kanye sort of hurt. Him saying like, wow, like this guy who literally taught me how to produce just put out a record on me. My first time back in the city, and he's doing it because I didn't give him a shout out in an interview. Like it sort of added so much humanity to Kanye in that moment, because it was like, Kanye has always been cocky. Yeah, he's always been arrogant. He may have always been outspoken, but he wasn't as jaded. You know, he was still human. And he sort of, I don't think you would see that now, where Kanye would express that same sort of disappointment and just sort of like raw emotion as he did then, when he was like, damn, like, you really dissed me. And he went on the radio and he was like, I mean, nah, like I'm still cool with the guy. Like, you know, he taught me how to do. Like, you know, I don't think that was nice to see that was once that person, this like sweet kid who like was hurt at that, you know?
Yeah. And that's another thing too, like, you know, Kanye complains about, oh man, this hurt me and stuff, but we don't really feel bad for him because it's like, oh, okay, this is the millionaire Kanye who's mad about something. But this, it feels really genuine. He's like, wow, I came into the city. I was just with this dude earlier today or the day before. He was bigging me up. And then I hear the radio the next day and he's dissing me. And I was like, I was like, dang, that's kind of
I wanted to give him like a hug. I was like,
no, but it makes you want to give him a hug. That's
exactly. I remember the dude, he was like, you need a hug, man. He's like, you need a hug, man. You need a hug. And I was like, man, I'd be mad too. And I get it. Like, man, that's really messed up with what he went through with that. And yeah, man, that was really interesting. So yeah. And it also interesting too, that's not exactly related, but how long he was like working on that first album. Like it came out like, I'm getting come out till 2005, but he was working on it like 2001, 2000, you know, it's kind of, yeah. So
the scene that really stuck out to me was the scene between him and his mom. You know, anytime his mom was on the screen and they were in the house or they were at their old house, and just like seeing how they like fed off each other's love for each other, and just like how they riffed with each other. She knew the lyrics to his songs that like didn't even like hadn't even come out. Like she was rapping along to them, like, and just how like genuine of a person she was. That was really beautiful to see, I think.
Yeah,
I think to that point, it was nice to see that. I think Kanye, I'm trying to say his name, not like how his mom said it, because, you know, saying everything like Kanye. You know, I think that it's cool to see that Kanye, you know, sorry, it's cool to see that he is who he is now. I think one, because he had a ton of confidence instilled in him by his mother. who from an early age saw his talent, and instead of like saying, hey, you need to focus on school more and stop, you know, trying to do these damn beats, like encourage it, and bought him his first like beat maker, and like really believed in him from an early age. And two, he had a hard working sort of resilience from a young age too, because he was saying like I would make 5 beats a day, you know, like I would struggle and like work hard to do this, like I earned my spot and my right to be here. I think a combination of those two things are how you get someone who's almost like borderline narcissistic in their confidence and ego, but have the skill to justify it at the same time, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's one of the things, I mean, and also that's why like remember Cootie said it right after, he's like, man, Kanye got a big boost of like energy and confidence after leaving that. And then he was like, you know what, now I'm gonna go and get this record deal for real. And it happened essentially, not exactly directly after, but it essentially happened. And that was a cool part about seeing this movie. All his scenes with his mom were pretty incredible. So those are honestly the best parts of the
I hope there's more. I really hope there's more.
Yeah, I really hope. I mean, we should expect more, but
yeah.
It was also cool seeing the dynamic Kanye had with Jay-Z. In the sense that at that time, at the point where this documentary is happening, Kanye had already produced half of Blueprint, you know, had already done that, had already made a name for himself. But you still learn that at the time, it wasn't really Jay-Z who was advocating for Kanye as much. It was really more Dame. And, you know, it was like, there's even that one scene where like Jay-Z, they're at a party and like Kanye goes to Jay-Z and it's literally just one of those like
that's crazy now, because now we think of them on like the same level, essentially, like, oh man, they're like
the brothers,
like brothers, right? That's what people like to think of them as. But like Kanye was just like a guy essentially. Jay-Z's like, yeah, he did co beats mine.
Yeah, I was shocked to see how dismissive Jay-Z was of Kanye.
Super dismissive, dude.
It's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? But that's, you know, we spoke about this with Baby Spider last week. Like producers were not like, that's like, imagine like, remember I'm trying to think, Metro Boomin did the Drake Future project. I remember that was such a piece, like, oh man, Metro Boomin. And that's like Drake seeing him and be like, hey, okay, bro, like essentially, you know what I'm saying? That's essentially what it was like. And it's crazy to see Kanye kind of like dismissed. No, he wasn't dismissed, obviously, but he wasn't obviously at the level to take him seriously, or at that level where he need to acknowledge him at like, you know, hey, what up? Give me a hug, bro. Da, da, da. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't that type thing.
That like kind of piggybacking off it struck me how hard it was for him to find success at Roc-A-Fella, even after like Jay-Z had acknowledged it on the album. He's like, oh, Kanye, you're crazy for this one. Like he says it on the record, and like he, you know, his most famous song was produced by Kanye. And like how hard it was, even after all that, to get a record deal.
That also shows how hard it was. I don't know how if it's as hard as it is now, but like as it was. But you know, it shows how hard it is to get a record deal, because like, you know, we obviously look back and see this dude's talented. I mean, he was on. Everybody's saying his beats are crazy, and obviously he was a talented. I'm like, I don't know how you could hear him just say he's not talented as a rapper, but like it was still difficult for him to, to get a deal, because, you know, no matter how talented a guy is, you know, it's really a chance. You're taking a chance on a person, and you know, we've seen a lot of talented artists that haven't, quote unquote, made it. So
yeah, Nnamdi and I were talking about it while we were watching it, that like people were like, oh, you're a producer, you know, you're not supposed to rap. Like it's like, it was like kind of weird for people to see that like he was trying to do both.
You can make the beats, there's no way you can rap too. It's like the logic there, I don't even get the logic. It's like,
that don't make sense.
Why would you not go with the one-stop shop? But I don't know. I think it's fascinating to see that, you know, Kanye earned his stripes like everybody else. And I think you can get lost in seeing that because of his antics now. But he literally produced the best-selling rap album that year and still couldn't get enough support, at least at the time, get that much support behind him as a rapper. Yeah. You know, and was still kind of not getting fully embraced by everyone, because not only was it a risk because he was a producer, but also this is what ends up being one of the more culturally significant parts of this whole thing. It was the fact that Kanye was on a label that was all street and gangster rappers, and Kanye was not a street or gangster rapper. So there's also the like risk of are we going to go with this guy who describes himself as the bridge between sort of those two communities within, you know, like nerdy rap and street rap, you know, the bridge between like that sort of that new sound, you know. And I think it again speaks to why Kanye ends up being one of the more influential rappers ever, because once he finally gets the support, we know the album that comes out of that is A College Dropout. Mm-hmm. And that ends up being one of the most iconic albums because of how different it was for its time, and because it got such a huge amount of not only success in terms of following, but success behind the scenes. Eventually, it opened the doors for other people who didn't fit into that gangster rap mold.
Yeah, the guy at the A&R at Ruckus Records, the guy that was like, man, you like, you know, the street dudes gonna love you, and all the, you know, the backpackers guys gonna love you and all that. And like, that's literally what it is. Like, if you speak to anybody from, you know, you go to a random show with 200 people, and then you go to the biggest rapper in the game, it's like Kanye's that guy essentially. And that's when, you know, you kind of you know, he's hit every demographic of music basically, you know what I'm saying? And like, that's who he is. And it's crazy to see that it was like that back then too, but yeah. So
it was so funny to see like him bringing Scarface into the studio and then showing him like 2 songs and being like, I was like, in what world would Scarface fit on Family Business? Like, what would that sound like?
That's another thing too. A couple of these clips I've seen before. A couple of them have gone around. Like, I've heard, I haven't seen the Scarface, but I heard like somebody was like, yo, Scarface supposed to be on.
I did hear that on Twitter.
I heard, yeah, you know, people would say like, oh, he's supposed to be on, you know, Jesus Walks, and it's crazy. He just went in and was like, man, Scarface, like,
he like gave him Jesus Walks and Family Business and was like, yeah, pick one.
Also, can I also point out, as somebody who, you know, has Invisalign now and wore braces, that Kanye put in the retainer just pretty much anywhere. It's pretty disgusting. he just put it in his pocket.
He was grossed out by that. That was funny.
Scarface was like, bruh, really?
If this is my studio time and I'm paying for it, I'm gonna put my retainer anywhere I want to put.
That's true. But Scarface was like, bro, really? You go just put that in your mouth, bro.
I want to ask you guys, as we sort of bridge this over into current Kanye talk, how does the first part of Genius, which again sort of details Kanye's early beginnings as someone famous, honestly, as a prominent person, where he was big as a producer but not much anything else. You see his rise, you see the hard work, you see sort of the humble beginnings, the authentic vibe. Like, how does that depiction of him inform how you view him now that he's Kanye in 2022? You know, the Kanye with the massive Instagram following and, you know, the messy divorce, and like, how does that shape the way you see all of these things?
I mean, man, he's the same in a lot of ways. It's just a lot more, it's just his, I don't want to say mistakes, but his mistakes are way more public now and way more I don't that word's too strong. I was gonna say catastrophic, but much more influential now because so many people are so influenced by what he does. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Kanye says something like, you know, support MAGA or whatever, like, not to make this political or something like that, like, that's way more influential on a lot of people than like Kanye being back then like, yeah, I'm the best out or something like that. Something, you know, what was outlandish to him at that level is just like, he's gonna be more outlandish as, you know, he gets older and he gets bigger and he grows in music, you know? So like, I don't know, I feel like he's kind of the same in a lot of ways. It's just like he's on a bigger level and those mistakes are way more public. Not defending anything he's done anyway, but you know.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it like changed how I view him at all. I mean, he's still like this very complicated person, and this person who I have a complicated relationship, I feel like, with. But it's really, really fascinating to see like this person who's been famous for like all of our whole lives, pretty much.
Yeah,
see how he came up.
Yeah, I think for me, the only thing it did is just sort of, I think I said it at the beginning, it just reminded me that this person is like, this isn't an act with Kanye, you know, this isn't like, I think there's often the urge to be like, oh, is he doing it because the album's coming out? Or is he doing this because he's like, just trying to get press? Or is he doing this? And I think, you know, some of those things may still have some weight behind them, but I think it reminded me that he's been this way forever. Like he has been sort of like this boisterous, outspoken, I don't care about anyone else. I don't care about, you know, how my presence comes across. I'm cocky, I'm arrogant. He's been that. Mm-hmm. I have a big ego. I know I'm gonna make it. I know I'm gonna have the best album ever. Like, he's just been that way since the beginning. And I think there's something a bit, it makes it easier to, not easier to defend, but easier to sort of unpack, knowing that, okay, at least you're not just doing this for attention now. Like, this is just sort of like, in dealing with Kanye, you have to put up with all this stuff too.
I agree, because like transitioning to like him now, if people are like, what's he doing this for? Like people are always like, oh man, he's doing this because like Nnamdi said, the album's coming out, or you know, obviously that's a part of it. Like obviously you want press for your project that's coming, you want people to listen to it, you want interest. But I mean, yeah, he's kind of just unpredictable, and you know, obviously it wasn't as unpredictable back then because obviously it was on a small level, but now it's like we can see it, and he's unpredictable. He's gonna do whatever he wants or whatever he feels, and when you're given the autonomy to essentially do whatever you want, you know, a lot of people are going to do that. Kanye's basically given that green light by all the people around him too. You know, essentially back then, you know, people were giving the green light, like, hey, not everybody, not the labels, obviously. People like, yeah, rap. But now it's green light with everything, you know, run for president, do this, you know, support Trump, you know, people are giving him the green light and okaying him doing that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, he's going to do whatever he wants anyway. So, I mean, yeah, so it doesn't really change how I feel about him now, but yeah.
So I guess we have to get into Kanye now. Part of the reason we decided to do this episode, you know, was for the good and bad. And Kanye, I feel most of the headlines have not been that great. I feel like, to my other point, you know, if Instagram and Twitter were big in 2004, 2005, I'm not sure how different Kanye's presence would be on it. I think that's sort of how I feel on it too. Like, for that to say, yeah, you now have that same kid who is super cocky and arrogant, but now he knows he's made it. He has hundreds of millions of fans, some of which are very, very dedicated. And all his mistakes and flaws are made incredibly public. And he no longer has someone to pull him to the ground or anchor him, at least the way we know his mom used to. Mm-hmm. And I think that colors in a lot of the behavior we see now. So, I mean, there's really a lot of places to start with this. There's obviously the Kim K situation, where for the past couple of weeks, at least as of recording, Kanye will randomly decide to go on Instagram and post a text message or post a screenshot or make clear that he's not a fan of Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson's relationship. What have you guys made of this sort of debacle over the last couple of weeks? You know, from Julia Fox to not Julia Fox to Kim K to Pete Davidson. Like, how have you made about Kanye's sort of weaponization, I guess, weaponizing of his social media?
He's honestly, to me, just coming off like a hypocrite, because, like, you know, he's been in one very public relationship and I'm sure other not so public relationships since the news of their divorce came out. Meanwhile, he's very like publicly trying to like beg for her to back. I don't really want to get into the kid stuff because I don't really want to, you know, I don't feel like it's our place to comment on that. But at least with like how he targets Kim and like that relationship and goes after Pete Davidson, and Pete Davidson's not even commenting on it, which I feel like makes it look a lot worse for Kanye. It's just, to me, the whole thing just comes off as a hypocrite.
I can't even comment on the kid stuff.
I just don't. I don't.
I'm not talking about. I think it's one thing to talk about a child or a kid. I'm not doing that. But I think you can absolutely critique Kanye's use of social media to sort of get at Kim and his family, because that's part of it. It's not help.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I just, people are like, should he? How are their family dynamics? Well, people are like debating how their family works. And like that.
Yeah, okay, I get it, because we don't know. We can't speculate what it is.
Yeah. But, no, I agree with that. Like him very publicly trying to like, I don't know, do what he's trying to do.
Lead his way into, I guess.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And there's an article we have here from Elle by Hannah Pfeiffer that says Kanye West harassment of Kim Kardashian is not a joke. And it kind of goes past the memes and everything, and also goes into like how he's treated women over the past around decade or so. You know, even talking about like Taylor Swift, talking about the Pete Davidson stuff. But I think the last line in here is pretty telling. Yeah, it was supposed to be. It was a supposed commentary on the absurdity of fame, and she's talking about that famous music video where he had all the naked people in the bed with him.
That fame.
She said it was supposed commentary on the absurdity of his fame and fame at large, but all I can think of is how he's viewed Kardashian and the women he's crossed paths with, mere objects meant for his own gratification. It's time for the public to acknowledge that as well.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
So,
That's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, Kanye knows. You know, a quick dive through his Instagram comments can tell you that he knows that people are gonna root for him always, no matter what. So yeah, I mean, in that case, in that sense, weaponizing his fans against people, his family, and people who are not his family, just not cool.
I mean, you kind of hit it on the nose for me. It's just a hypocrite. Like, I mean, Kim K's not over here. I mean, Kim Kardashian, I'm not necessarily a fan. I don't have a problem with her, but I'm not necessarily a fan. But like, she could easily be like, you're over here parading Julia Fox everywhere, you know, embarrassing me out here. You know what I'm saying? She could say that, but she hasn't. Like, I don't know how we could say, like, how can you have Pete Davidson out here, but you're over here dressed up with Julia Fox every day, doing a photo shoot, making out with her, having her sitting on your lap in front of people, vibing with Antonio Brown and stuff. Like, I really don't know how Kanye could say that with a straight face and think what he's saying has validity. Like, I really don't understand. And that's another point. One of the screenshots off the top of my head, if that is actually Kim Kardashian's text message, I'm assuming they are. She was like, somebody could actually hear Pete Davidson. Like, you're saying, like, and he was like, hey, I'll handle it myself. But like, you know how people get. I'm not saying Kanye. Well, he probably does. But like, you know, like you're saying all this stuff about Pete Davidson. Somebody could really do something. I'm not saying like somebody try to kill the dude, but like somebody could harass him in that type of way. And like, Pete Davidson didn't ask for any of this. He's not saying anything. Literally, it's not making it any worse. Which is like, he's just coming off as a hypocrite. That's why that Easy song, people are like, oh, look at him coming Pete Davidson. I was like, are y'all serious right now? Like, he's over here being a hypocrite because his wife's dating. When you're over here with Julia Fox. Like, in the same line, he says, I'm gonna beat Pete Davidson's ass, but he's over here talking about my new bad. Are you serious? Like, did he really just say that?
Yeah,
That's
no, it's
you could say. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I agree. A lot of it's harassment what he's doing. Like, really. And that's another thing too. Kim Kardashian, people are gonna be like, oh man, they're already a reality TV show. They already put their personal life out there. I get that, but there is a line. There still is a line, I think. And I think Kanye is crossing it by, you know, way over the edge. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
I think part of the problem for me is that I don't even know if Kanye believes in what he says, or that I'm sure he sees he's a hypocrite, but I think the problem is more society and the public legitimize what Kanye does because he's Kanye West. I think that's the bigger issue. It's like, instead of calling it out as like, why is Kanye West like using his platform to like harass Kim Kardashian? Or like, why is Kanye West like repeatedly like going on a tirade about Pete Davidson? Like, we sort of look at it as like tabloid fodder and like laugh at it. And that it starts giving credence to like the crazy ideas Kanye is saying, because it's like, oh, well, the press is covering it and like his fans are all like into it, and like it's just, I don't know, the way we talk about it I think matters a lot in these situations, which is why I think it's also like one of those things that we're gonna in 5 years look back, just like Britney Spears, in 5 years we're gonna look back and say, damn, we probably should have talked about that a little bit differently as it was happening. Because that's my thing with Kanye and the kind of fan I am. I always say it, it's like, I'll acknowledge the music greatness, but I will never justify the antics. Because Kanye West feels like he can get away with this, because he does every time. He feels like he can do these things because instead of him getting a crap ton of bad PR, he gets a couple articles about, you will not guess what Kanye just posted on his Instagram today, and like his fans defending him in the comments, you know? So I think it's also a societal critique as well as like acknowledging Kanye West as a hypocrite.
Yeah, that's why I'll always understand when people like, I just can't listen to Kanye, because, you know, whether indirectly or directly, like, you supporting his music is giving credence to, like, you know, no matter what Kanye does, he's still a genius. Like, that's why I understand when people are like, I'm just not going to listen to him, because that gives credence to everything he says, and he feels even more justified the more people that are listening to his music. So I personally can separate the two, because, you know, I just like music. Like, I really don't give a damn about Kanye, to be frank, but like, I understand when people are like, I just am not willing to listen to his music, give credence to, you know, a lot of the rhetoric he spews out on social media and, you know, wherever else he's gonna talk. So
yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I mean, Kanye, man.
I feel like we should bring out the kind of central the blog he's using to talk about all of this is Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And if you check Instagram at 10 p.m. every night, there's gonna be something new on there, and the stuff you saw yesterday is not going to be there today.
Not going to be there at all.
Like, it's the vehicle for all of this is Instagram. I'm actually surprised at the stuff that's on here right now, but it looks like it's all very much gearing up towards the album that's apparently supposed to come out on Tuesday. He is having a listening party in Miami. He's
in where?
In Miami.
I was like, what?
I don't know. That was like,
I was like, wait,
like that sounds like exotic.
Every time I say Miami, I think.
okay.
Every time I say Miami, I think of that Will Smith song, and like one of the girls in the song is like Miami. And so
Yeah, for sure. I got you.
But yeah, I guess today's target is Corey Gamble. I don't know. I think that's Kris Jenner's boyfriend. I think, right?
Really?
I don't know. I think he has something with Kris Jenner. I don't know if they're still together. But anyways,
I'm
Kanye
pretty sure he broke up, and now Kanye's mad, saying Kris is about time he does it. He stole from people. That's the
okay. I see.
For all the CBDs on the new
this guy is
Kardashians on Hulu.
Yeah, he's the target of Kanye's ire today. But throughout all of this, I think one of the biggest ones, maybe for us, I don't know, as music fans, he went after Kid Cudi for being friends.
Well, that's what you skip something. If you go back to his Instagram, I want to go back to his page. I want to talk about that list he posted, acknowledging his own beefs. Let's name some of them. Taylor Swift, Nike, Kim K, his cousin, laptop, I'm guessing, was Jay-Z, Kid Cudi, which we'll get into, Billie Eilish, which we have to get into, Peppa, Pete Davidson, Drake, Ray J, Justin Timberlake, Jimmy Kimmel, South Park, Deadmau, Beyonce, Bruno Mars, J. Cole, Travis Scott, Harriet Tubman, Louis Vuitton, CEO of Zappos. The list goes on. Kanye West reposts this, and instead of saying, man, that's not true, he says, this list is twice as long. You got to put Apple, Spotify, Vivendi, Universal, TikTok, Black History Month, Obama, the whole cast of SNL,
Hillary Clinton,
the devil himself, Corey Gamble, Bezos, Charlemagne, Disney, liberals, and of course Skeet, which is his name for Pete Davidson. So
funny, bro.
In his own words.
Yeah. Well, another thing too, before we get into the Kid Cudi thing, I think a lot of people, including us, we've done like, this is Kanye being Kanye, like kind of like spewing it off to the side. But I agree. I think, and hopefully
Sean didn't make the list.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, because Big Sean, y'all saw Big Sean tweeted out about like Black Future Month. Remember, he was like doing the Kanye thing too. So I think they.
I mean, no, they were ready. They made up supposedly, but you know.
Yeah, whatever.
You never know.
Okay, Big Sean. But yeah, a lot of people we spoke about it. You know, off camera, we were like, is it Kanye being Kanye? It was like, nah, he needs to be like held accountable for like the stuff he's saying. But yeah, we can get into the Kid Cudi thing.
Dennis Haysbert do to Kanye? That's the Allstate guy. Like, what did he do to Kanye?
Oh, wait, are you serious?
Yeah. The dad from Love and Basketball.
Maybe he was supposed to be in a commercial. They was like, nah, man, we can't.
But like, I mean, I think to the Kid Cudi point, that was probably the most disheartening day of this. Yeah. And I guess we have to it goes back to the Pete Davidson situation. Kanye out during one of these tirades decided that anyone who's associate with Pete Davidson cannot be his friend. And apparently Pete Davidson and Kid Cudi had a prior relationship, not prior to Kanye, but before the relationship. I mean, you know, the Kim K relationship.
Yeah, Kim K relationship.
And Kanye apparently posted Kid Cudi will not be on my album anymore because he's friends with the enemy or something to the tune of that. And let me tell you, that didn't shock me as much as Kid Cudi's response did. Because I feel most people would think maybe Kid Cudi will be quiet or whatever. Kid Cudi fought back and was like, okay, bet. I don't give a too bad. I don't want to be on your album anyway, you dinosaur. Everyone knows I've been the best thing about your album since I met you. I'm gonna pray for you, brother. Which, look, I don't know. The conversation could be made that Kid Cudi's influence on them albums. Kanye used the hell out of them hums. He does.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the part it wasn't only this, you know, and of course he says they talked about it weeks ago, and then, you know, Kanye is now flipping the script for whatever reason. And I think Kid Cudi's, from the perspective of a friend, saying like, you could have called me, you're doing all this extra stuff for what? I'm sure it's hard to be in Kanye's like real life as a real friend when he does stuff like this.
We all speak in Billy language now.
I don't even want to get into Billie Eilish situation because that was just, but I don't know. In the days after this, Kid Cudi posted on Twitter, like, I'm done, or like just really sort of worrying, concerning things that are like, I'm not in the best headspace. I remember the Shade Room reposted it and it was like, everyone sent his prayers up. And I just hope it doesn't have a lot to do over this, because I know Kanye can be a lot, but like, it goes back to weaponizing his base. Like, Kanye should not be able to post Kid Cudi's face and say, we're against him now, and like be able to just, you know, that's it. You know?
I mean, it's bullying. It's bullying because it's crazy because Cudi literally does nothing. Like, he really is like no problem for any, like, seriously, like, what does Kid Cudi do that's like, man, I hate him? Like, he really does.
So like,
does
he's
nothing.
so innocent, or like not innocent, but he's so like docile, I guess.
Awesome.
You know,
It's just like it's kind of like, remember when Drake dissed him? It was like, wait, what he do? He would go through mental problems. You're messing with him. Like Kid Cudi literally didn't do anything, and that's where it's just like being a hypocrite. So I was like, okay, what if Kim K just like, oh my god, like just started going at everybody that hung out with Julia Fox or something like that? Like,
but she wouldn't, because she's Kim K. That's the thing I feel Kanye also struggling with. It's that Kim K is like someone that is on his par. She doesn't depend on Kanye for anything. There's not a need. I think that gets to him too, because clearly even from the details of their relationship, it was like Kanye likes to be in control, at least of the aesthetic. Like what she wears, how like how they look together, like what the narrative is around them. And I think the fact that he no longer has control of that is what he's really mad at, which is why I'm like, again, this is all control, and it's probably the patriarchy at some point, gotta put that in there. Like
patriarchy.
I'd read that they like made up, or like, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure they
Kanye commented something like praying for you, something like that. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if that's them making up. He's just literally
big
Instagram one day and was like praying for you. Then is the post still there? I don't think so. So I don't make that as what you will.
Yeah.
I just feel like fans have to be more critical of Kanye, because we shouldn't, like, I don't think any artist should feel this is okay. Like, you can't get mad at like the fan bases for acting crazy and then not get mad at Kanye for like literally picking new targets on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's just gonna be hard for somebody like that, because as many fans as there are like us who are like, you know what, we like his music, but this behavior is just not acceptable. There's just as many fans saying, yeah, Kanye, go at Pete, go F ski. Like, just as many people saying that. You know what I'm saying?
Who's this guy in his comments? Always produced by Zach. This man comments 10 things on Kanye's post every time.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Another Yeezy baby, another Yeezy boy. You know what I'm saying? Yeezy soul.
This is crazy. Look at this.
But this is what I'm talking about. There's millions of fans like that, Avery. Think about it.
I know.
Fans like that. They're like,
We've met a couple.
We
have met a couple.
Y'all, oh my goodness. Hey, never mind. I was gonna say something. Never mind. Oh man, yeah. I mean, and it's kind of, and this is just a sentiment of how Kanye is. It's like, it's hard to like kind of conclude, because like something's happening right now with Kanye probably that we're gonna hear about tomorrow. So
I was gonna ask, like, do you guys think that, like, we always know, like, before he drops an album, there's like antics to follow, right?
True.
Now it feels like antics is like simplifying it too much. Like, this one specifically feels like more serious. This one feels more dangerous, I guess, maybe than the last few.
I agree.
I don't know if you guys get that sense as well.
Well, yeah, because with Donda, it was nothing really. It was just like we were just wanting the music. Like, it was really
the Drake
just like,
stuff. It was like the Drake
stuff,
little Drake beef.
I agree, but that was like, honestly, like more entertainment. Honestly, it was honestly just more entertainment. But like, also with that was like, oh my gosh, when's the album come out? Like, it's this every time. When's the album come? We're just, and it's like, okay, that's what the, like, if we keep it music, we're good. Like, we really don't care that much. But like bringing it into the real world as the way Kanye is when it's like, okay, you're kind of crossing a line here. Like, where this is where
I guess like I haven't seen him call people out like this, or like specifically target people like this leading up to an album before.
Well, no, he's definitely called people out. He's made jabs and called people out before albums, ranging from Taylor Swift to Drake to Big Sean to whoever you want to talk about, John Legend. Right. Like, but I think what makes this different is I've come to realize I'm not sure this is like PR attention as much as it is Kanye West in moments of stress can't handle said stress. I think album releases are probably moments of stress. I think this specific time is amplified from the fact that I think Kanye West, the narcissist, the potential egomaniac, is having to grieve the end of a marriage, the loss of a wife, maybe his ideal of what a family should be. Yeah. And I don't think he knows how to handle it. And I think this is all a result of him not knowing how to handle that. And like, it's like a kid, it's an outburst.
Realizing that this woman doesn't need you as much as you think she does.
Yeah, I don't think it's like that justifies it in any way, but I think that's why this feels more like abhorrent than like the other incidents, because it's just a matter of this is kind of real too. What you're seeing is human emotion, like someone who is angry at the fact that like his marriage is ending, someone who's angry that he doesn't have the final say on what his family does, where they're at, or their you know, how that happened, and someone who's just angry that his life is changing and he can't control it. you know, and he's now turning to the public as a means to get control. Think about what all this started as. I want you back, Kimberly. Come back to me, Kimberly, at the listening sessions. And that just evolved into now I'm going to hate, very much so hate on the man you're with. And that ended up steamrolling into my favorite person texted me. Of course, they have to post the message. Like, it's,
oh my God.
I think this is a human emotion that is amplified. Kanye West is Kanye West, and he doesn't know how to handle himself. I think that's why this feels different in my eyes.
Yeah, it feels tumultuous this time. Like,
absolutely. Instagram posts
because his life is tumultuous right now. You know,
yeah. I can't believe some of those Instagram posts he actually put. The Civil War one, I was like, I can't believe he actually did.
Oh, he's literally posting movie posters, Photoshop with him and Pete Davidson, like crazy.
I can't lie. I laughed at that. I can't lie.
What are you guys hoping we'll learn in part 2 as we sort of wrap this conversation up in part 2 of the documentary? What are you looking forward to?
Well, it looks like we're gonna. It was kind of previewed at the end, but it looks like we're getting into like
the crash,
and like right around like the crash and like the album release part. Because remember at the end it was like showed a little bit of like the photo shoot. So it looks like we're actually getting to like Kanye becoming a superstar. Like we're kind of getting into that mold of like 2004 2005 range when the album's coming out and a lot of attention's coming his way, the attention he's been waiting for.
Well, I know that Cudi and Chike directed the Through the Wire music video, so I'm super excited to see how they portray that in the movie, and also like the making of Through the Wire. I'm sure will be in there, and also it kind of looked like they were in the room when he was getting surgery, which is insane. So yeah, I'm excited to see that whole saga.
I told Avery that the Through the Wire video is one of the first like videos I remember because I was terrified of it as a kid because they showed like his teeth and his mouth and the surgery kind of fix, and that freaked me out as like
that picture of him swollen, his face swollen.
Yeah, I will never forget that. So I'm interested to see that, and this documentary is great because it gives you like a fly on the wall perspective to all of this, and I'm just interested to see how the behind the scenes conversations were when it was like Kanye finally is on the brink of releasing his debut. Finally has the support behind him, gets into this major accident, and like how he rebuilds from that. I'm really interested to see what that looks like. Because again, it speaks to his perseverance. He was recording through the wire, like his jaw wired shut. That speaks to the dedication.
I also hope we see like how him and Jay-Z's relationship grows maybe a little bit more. Because I don't know how we get from what we just saw to like the supposed quote unquote brotherhood that I feel like people have to understand that brotherhood to me is always not, it's little bro, big bro. It's not, I don't think Jay-Z and genuinely, I do not think Jay-Z and Kanye ever were like this.
I agree totally.
I think it was just, that was a mentor. This guy I respect. He's a guy who I'm on his label. I've been under him. He's my boss. I don't think it was ever like super duper close, you know? I don't know, but I'm down to see that as well. Kanye, you keep us talking. I don't know if we'll do another full-fledged Kanye episode, but I know we'll very much so react to the remaining 2 installments. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this complex conversation over a complex guy, Kanye West.
I hope we can review the album if we can listen to it.
If he puts it on anything that's not the Don DeStem player, maybe. The way it's going. But anyway, let's head on over to Billboard highlights. The only thing I really want to talk about is Nicki Minaj would have had a #1 debut with Do You Have a Problem if it wasn't for We Don't Talk About Bruno, which is so wild because at least with like the Frozen song Let It Go, I was like so aware of what it sounded like, you couldn't escape it. But I still don't feel like I've really heard this song. Yeah, but I
love this song. It's so good.
Super successful.
Well, it's not ingrained in like pop culture quite as the way that Frozen song was. Let It Go. It was not like Let It Go was like,
this is more successful than Let It Go now.
Yeah, exactly. I agree, but it's more successful, but I don't know, it feels like the impact of Let It Go was a little bigger, if you get what I'm saying. I don't know if that makes sense, but like,
yeah, no, I get you. Part of the reason I also wanted to like talk about do we have a problem is because I'm always very tuned into the Billboard rule changes, how they change how they calculate like a sound stuff. And there was another round of Billboard rule changes earlier this year. The new thing was artists are no longer allowed to basically do mass buying. So if a single person buys like 4 copies of an album at once, only one's going to count. Things like that. And you read that and you immediately knew that was going to impact sales, because a lot of the #1s you saw over the last couple of years is because fan bases now will like mobilize as units to get their artists to #1. They'll all buy 6 copies. They'll have streaming parties. They'll do all this stuff. And Billboard's been trying to crack down on that for a minute. So now with this change, I think it's like Nicki Minaj probably would have been #1 because she's #1 on the best selling songs chart, but because they no longer allow mass buying on Hot 100, they literally just cut a percentage of those sales from the calculation on the chart.
Just interesting. So if I'm a Nicki Minaj fan, or I'm a whatever fan, and I buy 4 albums of this, that will count as one sale. Like I buy 4 albums at once.
I believe so, yes. Mass buying is basically mass buying isn't a thing. And I think they did this because in 2020, you had more number ones that year. Like it was the record for most number ones.
2020 was crazy.
And I think they realized it's become too easy to have a number one song. And they're now trying to change that. So I bring this up to say, I don't think you're going to see as many songs jump to number one that easy because of the change in those rules. So be on the lookout for that. And I think this is a great example. Notice Push and P, despite how big that was, did not go to number one. And I feel it's partially because of that as well. Other than that, Scared Money, J. Cole, Moneybagg Yo, and YG. Yo, God.
Scared Money. Yeah, Scared Money, YG.
I
think that's YG's song. That's the crazy part. J. Cole's
YG's song.
I know, but that debuted at number 73, which is always, I feel really good for whenever a rapper gets on the chart. And then a former pop titan, my way of saying Katy Perry, debuted at number 97. And I always just get shocked at this because for a while, she had the nation in like a chokehold with her hits, and I think it doesn't really speak to the fact that Katy Perry is not popular as much as it does that pop music is no longer just the go-to genre. And that shift is just fast.
Especially this brand of pop music.
Yeah.
Just not it anymore.
And like between 2010 and like 2013, you bet your ass that was gonna get.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a hit. This is gonna be in every Target commercial you saw, but now
right. It's just fascinating to me.
Every H&M ad. Yeah.
Every TNT ad break.
Oh, and the song I'm referencing there is When I'm Gone. I've noticed I didn't say that. And then over on the Billboard 200, guys, all I really want to talk about is how Encanto is now in record-breaking territory. I believe it's already like one of the soundtracks to the longest weeks at number one. But if it spends another week, it breaks a tie with 30 by Adele, and I want to say Dangerous by Morgan Wallen as the most number one in recent years. I'm going to say maybe not ever, but recent years.
At least favorite guy.
And this is a Disney soundtrack doing that. So that's, again, yeah, it's kind of insane to me. Also, Curtain Call by Eminem and 2001 by Dr. Dre, which we talked about last week. You should go check out our deep dive into 2001. They're both expected to debut in the top 10 or bounce back to the top 10 of the Billboard 200 thanks to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Nnamdi, I don't know if it was you, somebody else retweeted it, like the percentage of like the songs that went pop, like the listening of those songs, like All Right went up like 200%, and some of those other songs like Still Dre went up a lot, so not surprising to see that. I think you tweeted out, retweeted or something like that. So yeah,
that's your Billboard highlights. But ladies and gents, you know what time it is. We do it every week. Projects of the week.
Yo, this might be our most fired classic like project. Yeah, bang. Yeah, this is pretty good. Mine is Pinata by Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. This is honestly the first time I was like Freddie Gibbs. I took him seriously because he was been out for a while, but this is like the first time I took him seriously as like an MC. This album came out in 2014, guys. 2014. That's crazy. The first single came out for this in 2012. So it's been like 10 years since like, songs were coming out from this. But Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, incredible project. Honestly, is like what introduced me like how good rap could actually be, like into like the backpacker underground stuff. Like I was like, man, can rap be this good? And I love this project. Earl's on it. Who else is on it? Mac Miller's on it. I'm trying to think. Casey Veggie, Scarface, man, Danny Brown. A lot of people are on here. So yeah, man, check it out. Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, Pinata.
That's a great album. Mine is Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. One of the people who contributed to Kendrick Lamar. K-Dot, Kung Fu Kenny.
Did you put the deluxe on purpose?
Kenny? Oh yeah. Because we talked about this. The best version of Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe is on the deluxe with Jay-Z. And I always tell like
I prefer the unreleased version featuring Lady Gaga.
Oh,
that's a good one. That's a deep cut.
Oh, deep cut. See, this is my boy. See what I'm talking about.
I always tell the story when I saw Kendrick Lamar in Brooklyn, like in 2016, and he started playing the remix, and I like turned to my brother. I was like, "Jay-Z's coming. I know he is. It's gonna happen." And then he did not show up at all. So
the moment
I was so hyped. But
I'm
Yeah,
still
it's a class
disappointed
song.
the recipe wasn't played at the Super Bowl.
That would have been the perfect LA song to play at the Super Bowl.
That's
They
LA
kind of
song.
fumbled the bag, but it's fine. I'll still listen to the recipe at home.
Avery wanted 50 Cent to go.
Look.
I won't
Yes.
forgive you, Avery. I think 50 Cent should have stayed.
I just wanted Kendrick to have more time.
He's too significant. He's too culturally important.
Yeah. Check for some good Kid Mad City on the playlist.
So up until like a day ago, this was probably going to be either Blueprint or the Black Album by Jay-Z. Because I don't know why I went down a Jay-Z rabbit hole this week.
Which one do you like better between those? Since you're talking about it, I just wondered because we don't talk about Jay-Z a lot. We kind of like Jay-Z.
I think so. Stay with me here.
Wait, what is it between again? Which two?
Black Album, Blueprint.
Blueprint and the Black Album. I think I like the production of Blueprint more, but the Black Album.
More bangers. It's tough.
That's tough.
Tough. Those are like that's like top. People would argue that those are his best two albums. People would argue.
Let me say Blue. I'm gonna say the Black Album because that's one of the first Jay-Z albums I remember on my own being conscious of, just because it had 99 Problems and like Dirt Off Your Shoulders, and like those were huge when they came out. So I would say
I would go Black Album.
Blueprint's more of like you looking back, like, man, this was good.
Exactly, but Black Album, I remember like watching
point.
the Dirt Off Your Shoulders commercial like as a kid. So I'll say that. Anyway, I ended up going with The College Dropout by Kanye because once we watched this documentary, I was like, I want to listen to the album that came out of this. And I know they'll get into it more next week, but it's just, I really do love this album. I think it's one of the best debuts like ever. And it makes sense that it established Kanye as what he is. But it's All Falls Down, classic. I'll Fly Away, beautiful. Spaceship, go listen to it.
Oh.
Inspirational almost. Jesus Walks. Oh, that's another thing that got to me. I wanted to mention this during our conversation. I no longer think Jesus is King was like not a gospel album. Because in re-listening to College Dropout, you're reminded that Kanye has been on this gospel wave since like the very beginning. Like always. And it's not even just Jesus Walks. I would argue I'll Fly Away feels more like gospel-y than like Jesus Walks almost. Like he did it throughout that album. And I think it's cool to see that like that's just always been a thing with him. So anyway, you'll hear some gospel tinged Kanye on the playlist this week.
Family
It
Business.
looks like
Cry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Family Business used to make me cry, man. I used to be like, oh man.
I know it's a great song. I was saying it looks like we're gonna get the making of the cover of this album as well in the documentary this week, because we saw that there's a little clip of him like holding the bear head and some bleachers. So I'm excited for that as well.
So I actually am the bear on that cover. Fun fact.
Oh,
Really?
you wouldn't have been like 6 years older.
So, but CGI was in its early stages back then, so we were able to.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Exactly.
It's a deep pick.
I mean,
It's a deep pick.
How tall is Kanye? He's like 5'9", 5'10", 5'8".
It's pretty tall if you ask me.
How tall is he? I'm serious. Now, you mean? I'm serious. How tall is Kanye? I was just thinking about that because I was like, man, Kanye, his presence, you would think like, man, dude's like 6'3", but like,
He's like Tom Cruise. He's a little short king,
True. Tom Cruise has a presence. I can't really find it on the Googles. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it says 5'8".
I don't comment on him because I don't want to offend anybody and end up disappeared. If you know, you know. I'm not commenting on that. You guys just
Hold on.
You
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
All I'm saying is if you know, you know. I don't comment on that actor, but we are now officially talking about something that's not pertaining to music. So I think I could say on that note, thank you for listening to this episode of the 97 Demo Podcast. No, get the thought out.
I was gonna say, so newsletter coming back this week, and if you see us on the social medias, like we all got this kind of special little thing that kind of knows like we're somebody, we're somebody.
We're official, man. People don't be believing us.
People try to play with us, and obviously people try to play with us like we don't really do this. Like we are really journalists out here. So like if you go to our Twitters, our individual Twitters, you will see something like, oh, they like that. People take you seriously. I got some follows that I didn't get, some follow backs that people weren't following.
There were some follow backs have to get verified.
Follow backs that I'm saying people weren't taking seriously. So just saying, we for real do this thing. So yeah.
Time to get the pod Twitter account verified.
For real, man. Trying to get the Instagram, the IG, and people keep playing with us, man. They keep playing, but yep. Newsletter back, playlist back. All that stuff. So
I got all. I mean, we have more interviews coming up. We have a couple. The next couple weeks will be fun ones. So, thanks for rocking with us. And I think on that note, we will see you guys next week.